Hey everyone, Feltropy here. With the ongoing discussion about whether Death Grip counts as a raid buff, I wanted to shift the spotlight onto another class whose utility has been neglected for almost a decade: Warlocks. Warlocks in Mythic Plus, and more specifically, why we're barely present in the competitive meta. This isn't a new problem. Warlocks only show up when we're overtuned and doing absurd damage. The moment we're not broken, we disappear. If you've been trying to push keys as a Warlock, you've probably felt it too. Group spots are hard to get, our utility feels weak, and no matter how good your DPS is, it never seems to be enough to warrant a spot. Our biggest problem in Mythic Plus is utility, or rather the lack of it. We bring relatively solid raid utility, but that doesn't translate well into a 5-person content. Take for example Demonic Gateway. It's somewhat useful in raids, sometimes even mandatory, but in Mythic Plus, almost never needed. It's mostly used for skips, and even that is often replaced by things like Demon Hunters in Prison, Priest's Mind Soothe, Rogue's Shroud, or just Invispots. Outside of 1 or 2 dungeons, Gateway's impact is minimal. In most cases, with Soulburn, we're just using it as a pseudo-blink. Healthstones are our only other utility, and even that's stretching it. They're great for Warlocks, basically a 1-minute lay on hands, but for everyone else, useless. They are a worse version of Health Pot with a 5-minute cooldown that only resets after combat. That's not meaningful utility in M+. Summoning Portal, while a nice convenience, is irrelevant in an M+ setting. And Soulstone has lost most of its value over the years. This lack of utility has roots going back to the Warlords of Draenor pre-patch in 2014.
Because we'd rather you didn't play Demonology.
Back then, Blizzard felt we had too much utility, so they gutted it. Healthstones could no longer crit, and their cooldown only reset out of combat. Curse of the Elements was removed, and in the Legion pre-patch we lost Dark Intent, our only real group buff. The game has evolved a lot since then. Mythic Plus has overtaken raiding in player participation. Pruned utility like Mark of the Wild and Arcane Intellect have returned. Some classes even got new ones, like Sky Fury for Shamans. Meanwhile, Warlock design has stood still. As a pure DPS class, we don't have the flexibility of tanking or healing. If we don't bring meaningful utility in a 5-person setting, we're a deadweight. And that's exactly how M+ groups are seeing us right now. The solutions for this are simple. Give us back Dark Intent, let it provide 3% haste or crit, or have it buff fire and shadow damage by 5%. It won't be overpowered, but it'll make us a valuable pick in certain comps. Next, make Healthstones cooldown in combat and reduce the cooldown to 3 minutes for non-Warlocks, and make them restore 33% HP. That would actually make them worth pressing. Finally, Blizzard should consider giving us a Bloodlust style ability. It would improve comp flexibility and fit with Blizzard's goal of reducing class-locked utility. Thematically, it could mirror Gul'dan's Corruption of the Orcs, channeling Fellblood to send allies into a frenzy. Outside of utility, we'll also suffer from terrible stops. Let's start with interrupts. Most specs have reliable interrupts. We're stuck with Spell Lock tied to the Fellhunter. If you're playing Demonology, where Felguard is mandatory, you're forced into a worse option, X-Toss, which is also a stun. That makes it unusable in situations where we want to interrupt and reposition mobs. Shadow Fury is arguably the worst AoE stop in the game. It's a talent point, it has a 1-minute cooldown, it has a cast time. Every other AoE stun is an instant cast. The point of stops, or stuns, is to be fast, to be instantaneous. Definitely something you shouldn't have to hardcast. To fix some of these problems, here are the potential solutions. Make Spell Lock baseline and not tied to any pets. Next, make Shadow Fury a baseline spell as well, with talent choices to make it an instant or convert it into a knock-up. And now for some closing thoughts. The core issue isn't that Warlocks aren't meta. I'm not asking to dominate every season. What I'm asking is for baseline viability, a foundation of utility and group value that makes us worth bringing, even when our damage isn't topping the charts. Every pure DPS spec should offer something beyond raw numbers, and most of them do. Warlocks, on the other hand, we bring almost nothing that group actively needs. No bloodlust, no group buffs, no real crowd control, and what little we do bring is either irrelevant in dungeons or tied to poor design decisions. That's not a numbers problem, that's a toolkit problem. The improvements me and most other Warlocks are asking aren't radical requests, they are overdue adjustments for a class that's been ignored while dungeon design and group expectations have evolved. Blizzard has added new utility to several classes in recent expansions, but Warlocks are still working with a kit that hasn't been meaningfully updated for M+ since the system was introduced in Legion. Fixing this isn't about making us overpowered or mandatory. It's about making us functional. Mythic Plus is currently the dominant form of PvE content. It's the weekly benchmark for endgame progression. If a class can't offer anything to a 5-player group beyond damage, it will always be last picked, and often not picked at all. In modern M+, every class in a dungeon group needs to solve problems. Interrupts, stops, dispels, party buffs, something. We've seen this clearly with augmentation evokers who became mandatory because of the insane utility they brought. Warlocks don't solve anything right now. We just show up and hope the damage is high enough to justify our spot. That's not a healthy class design. It makes us dependent on being overtuned just to be visible. The moment we're balanced, we disappear. It's a cycle we've seen with Warlocks over and over again. Fix our toolkit and Warlocks go from being a raid-only class to a competitive and reliable asset in Mythic Plus. And that's all for today. If you're a Warlock main, I hope this gave some voice to the frustration you've probably been feeling for a while. And if you're not, maybe this helped explain why you don't see many Warlocks in your Mythic Plus groups. If you found this video interesting, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, like, subscribe, whatever. And please let me know what issues you've had with Warlocks or with the class you're maining. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.